G'day, Year 12. Look, sorry I'm away today. Mr. Noble's father died last week, and there's a few of us away at the funeral this afternoon. So, as you can understand, I hate missing a Year 12 English class, but I think this is a pretty important thing for me to do. Listen, before you watch this presentation, I'd like you to all download either on your iPads or on your phone a QR scanner. In the App Store. If you type in QR code scanner into the app search and download the one that looks like the picture on the right there, then I find that one to be a pretty reliable scanner. And what a QR code does is take you directly to a website without having to plug in all the URL and things like that. So yeah, QR scanner, it's handy to have on your phone anyway because they're becoming more and more popular. Look, what I'm going to talk to you about today is the area of study 2, creating and presenting, and that's the imaginative landscape. For us, we're studying the context of the imaginative landscape, and obviously we're about to start reading a text, Night Street by Crystal Thornell, but what I thought I'd do before we begin to get into it is to hopefully just explain to you the reasons why we study and read Night Street, and in that way, you know, I always find it easier to read something when you know what you're doing it for. So in this area of study, you need to be able to demonstrate a few things. So I'm going to put some of the things up that you will need to demonstrate. Feel free to pause my explanation and have a read over them yourself. So obviously our context is the imaginative landscape, and our text that we study within that context is Night Street by Kristen Thornell. So the question, first of all, that a lot of people ask is, what the hell is a landscape? And when we think of landscapes, we often think of, you know, rolling hills and green pastures, and we think of that the environment type picture in our head. But there's a lot more to landscape than just that. Have a look at the following pictures that are all examples of landscape. So even in the setting that you are in right now, you are in a landscape. Whether you're listening to this presentation at home or in a classroom, wherever you are in some type of landscape. And so the following dot points are some examples, you know, that help to explain what is the imaginative landscape. Feel free to pause and have a read through these dot points just to wrap your head around what exactly is the imaginative landscape. And as the great man himself once said, imagination is more important than knowledge. And this area of study is a really fun one to teach and a really good one for people who are great at expressing themselves through their writing. And if you're sitting there thinking, well, hang on, this isn't me, it's still a good one for you because this area of study rewards people who are willing to have a go. Okay, here is an example of the QR code in the top right-hand corner. If you've got a scanner on your phone, you can scan that QR code and it will take you straight to the website with links to all the past VCE English exam papers. But even more importantly, I think, the assessor's comments or assessor's report, which really gives feedback on the previous year's exam cohort and how they went and areas of strength and areas that following cohorts could particularly look to work on. So it's just your automatic cheat sheet, and I really strongly advise that you go there and have a really close look at those reports. But below this, I've picked out 3 mini paragraphs for you to have a look at, and I just want you to spend some time reading those because they are pieces of advice or statements made by the chief assessors regarding last year's area of study 2 exam results. Have a read. As you can see, one of the key important points is the exploring ideas and using detail from at least one text selected from the English text list. And that's why we study Knight Street, because you can't just write on the imaginative landscape off the top of your head. You must write off using ideas and detail from at least one text. I'll go back one. So here's two paragraphs from the assessors as well that give an explanation of what did well in the exam last year from this context. Feel free to pause this presentation and have a little bit of a read. And so the question gets asked to me every year, if I have the option in Area of Study 2 to write creatively, I don't even need to, or why do I even need to study the text closely? Because it doesn't matter, I'm going to use a very loose or minimal approach when I'm going to write my response. I'm not really going to refer to the text much at all. And the 3 paragraphs below give a clear explanation straight from the Chief Examiner or Chief Assessor why it is so important that our study of the text is thorough and close, because the ideas and references you make to that text must become explicit or must be very, very clear in your writing, even if you choose to respond creatively in this area of study. Have a read of the 3 paragraphs below. Pause if you need. You'll see highlighted that I've put in a couple of arrows and a text box that just point out some really crucial points that the assessors make that just reiterate just the importance of being able to study Knight Street closely. And so, why does Catholic College do the imaginative landscape? Well, if you have a look at the chart below, this is direct from the assessor's report, you can see that the imaginative landscape is only chosen by 7% of schools in Victoria. However, the average mark out of 10 is 6 out of 10. So actually people who write on the imaginative landscape statistically go really well in the state. So it is suggested by the statistics that the imaginative landscape is the toughest context to do. And the reason why is because a lot of schools shy away from the challenge of doing the imaginative landscape, because you need to really think about it. We put the challenge to you. Well, if you are willing to sit down and grapple with the challenges that the imaginative landscape throws up, then you'll be able to do quite well, and statistics would suggest that as well. So embrace the challenge, embrace the challenge that Knight Street throws at you, and statistically it suggests that you'll do quite well. Here is some advice given to both teachers and students from the Chief Assessor. Have a read and make sure that you're having a think about what that means for you as an English student and as a writer in this area of study. Feel free to pause if you need. So Year 12, hopefully that helps you understand a little bit more about the area of study 2, which is creating and presenting, and also helps you understand a little bit about what the imaginative landscape is and why it is so important we need to study Knight Street closely. It's not a text response essay that we are writing, but we're still using ideas, very, very central to the text in your written responses for this area of study. So it's really important that you know the text well. We're going to get more into the imaginative landscape stuff in the following lessons, but for the rest of today, I'd just like you to have a look at the introduction notes on Evernote to Knight Street and start working through the first few questions and dot points on that. Thanks for listening.